Hello everyone, today is 7th of August, now it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my second update for a day, in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. And of course, as headline says, of this update, main topic will be a situation in a Kursk region of the Russian Federation, and at the same time I will go through some additional news also. And I didn't receive any questions or commentary through PayPal, Boosty or Patreon for this live stream, so therefore I will react on a question and comment if I see it on donation alerts or boosted during the stream. And well, that's been said, let's talk about news now and break down everything that is known for this moment. First of all, latest developments right now as we speak. Russian President Vladimir Putin has a meeting with the leadership of Russian security forces. Belousov, Defense Ministry, is presented on meeting. Gerasimov, Head of General Staff, Bortnikov, Head of FSB, Shoigu, Secretary of Security Council. Already we have some statements that, according to Gerasimov, on attack on the Kursk region, about 1,000 terrorists of Kyiv regime were involved. Gerasimov did not use the word terrorists, he used the word militants, I believe, Boyvikov. And we also have a statement from very same Gerasimov. He said that the operation will end with total destruction of these TikTok forces of the Kyiv regime. And Belousov, I believe, also stated, or no, Gerasimov, Head of General Staff, also stated that for this moment, 300 Kyiv regime lost 315 of its military personnel, and no less than 100 of them were killed in action. Earlier, we had some different reports about casualty numbers on side of Kyiv regime, and I will share that information also. And same time, Kyiv regime forces lost 54 military vehicles, armored vehicles, including 7 tanks, a dozen of infantry fighting vehicles, armored personnel carriers, and so on. And this is the latest report, by the way. This is Kirill Fyodorov's channel, and it's in Russian, but that's what at least for this moment is known. And now let's go back to the map and go through all the and break down entire situations. So first of all, I noticed that in the comment section here on the first my video, also on the comment section of other channels or even on Telegram channels, I noticed some confusion, understandably so, of my fellow citizens. I guess some of them, and some are just supporters from different regions of the world. People are asking questions how this is even possible that Kyiv regime managed to pull off this surprised invasion of the Russian Kursk region. Or not many maybe, but some commentators are arguing that this was a failure on part of Russian security services, that they didn't notice gathering of the more or less large grouping of forces on the borderline. Well, I have a different take on all this situation, and I believe even though emotions are running high, I think there is no place, especially in critical situations, for any panic, really. And I don't believe that Russian side was unaware of upcoming terrorist attack of Kyiv regime, upcoming invasion of the Kyiv regime into Kursk region. I will share with you my take on the situation, and you tell me in the comment section what you think about it. So I believe Russian intelligence most likely knew about gathering of these forces right opposite in Sumy region, basically, and I'm 100% convinced that this is their case, because after all, even Rebar, the biggest Russian military channel on Telegram, reported that for at least 2 months there was constantly reports in independent sources here in Russia, in Russian segment of internet, about increased numbers of Kyiv regime forces. So obviously Russian intelligence knew about it, but what happened next? That's the interesting question. I believe Russian side make decision to basically create a trap for Kyiv regime's forces, and no border guards. Some may argue then why border guards were not withdrawn from a border and why this was not done and that. But dear friends, it does not work that way. Just because you have some intelligence information, you're not gonna leave an entire border area without any border guards, right? So my understanding is that intelligence, and I have some notice by the way here for me to go through all the topics that are relevant at this point. So in my understanding, Russian side knew about possibility that something like that might happen, and I think trap is created in Kursk region. And what this trap is doing now is that Russian side, Moscow, first of all, can make a statement on the world stage that this is a clearly invasion of the Russian Federation, which it is. Also, Russian side may wait for a little while, day or two possibly, or a little longer. Of course, I don't know all the possible details, or any details really, about plans of Russian general staff or Russian leadership, but once a number of Kyiv regime forces in the Kursk region will reach certain point, we might see retaliatory strikes from Russian side with possibly some extreme force. I'm not gonna go into details what that extreme force might be, but many members of our community probably understand what am I talking about. And after all, Russian military doctrine says quite clearly that if Russian Federation is invaded, if there is a threat to Russian citizens, strategical infrastructure of the Russian Federation, then Russian leader, president of Russian Federation, has all the authorities to use any means necessary to make sure that territorial integrity is defended and citizens are defended, and strategical infrastructure. And I remind you, dear friends, that from forward positions of Kyiv regime's forces in Kursk region, it's only 50 to 60 kilometers towards up to Kursk nuclear power station. And there are several military correspondents, Russian military correspondents, even made statements that possibly one of the targets, or even main target of Kyiv regime's forces that invaded Kursk region is Kursk nuclear power station. And this is very serious, by the way. This is very serious. Rebar commented on this topic, and this I shared information about it on my Telegram channel also. And let's go, as I said, let's break down all the possible scenarios. So this is a reflection of this is Rebar, or two majors, by the way, sorry, two majors is commenting on reflections on Comrade Slatkov, that's how he is saying, Comrade Podolyak, and a number of channels on the possible aspirations of their enemy towards the Kursk nuclear power station. So at the same time, The mathematics of war does not add up for this, according to two majors. And this is big channel, by the way, also on Russian segment of internet. That is that enemy currently has several brigades in their direction, roughly 10,000 military personnel. According to military science, the depth of their offensive is 10 to 20 kilometers, but the Kursk NPP is 60 kilometers from their current line of contact and 70 kilometers from the border, 90 kilometers by road if you are using roads, because of course roads not go straight. Sometimes they, So this is already the depth of the entire army offensive, requiring 50,000 military personnel at one offensive pace of 10-20 kilometers per day. This is based on open data. The enemy is unlikely to have reserves for a move towards Kursk NPP. And our Ministry of Defense has just said that on the Kursk direction, the advance of the enemy deep into the territory of the Russian Federation has been stopped, I believe. This is the bad translation, a mechanical one. At the same time, armed forces of Ukraine have repeatedly demonstrated the daring nature of their actions, guided not by military expediency, but by political goals. So, even though two majors channel is skeptical of risks that Kyiv regime may try to move towards Kursk nuclear power station, Russian military correspondents such as Slatkov, for example, which is a big name in among Russian military correspondents, also Podolyak, he is also commenting on developments on the line of contact. Well, they are openly saying that this is a possibility, and if so, by the way, even if there is a theoretical risk, of course, Moscow cannot take such a threat likely, and some actions should be taken. So, situation is serious. And Moscow at this point has every right to use any force, absolutely any force, according to Russian military doctrine, that political and military leadership will find necessary. And once again, this extreme force, if it's going to be used, will be used on Russian soil, that not really disputed by nobody. It's a Kursk region of the Russian Federation. Also, by the way, when it comes to current situation, I see several comments on different channels, several predictions that Moscow may start a second wave of mobilization due to current situation. And theoretically speaking, that's quite possible. You know my take on possible mobilization. I was saying for quite a while that most likely there will be a second wave of mobilization, and Russian side will mobilize 300 to 500 recruits, reservists at least. I myself can be mobilized because I'm a reservist also. But my understanding is that this mobilization, if it will take place, it will happen not because Russia needs some additional troops on the line of contact, but because we are very close to a point when Russia will start conducting decisive actions on the battlefield, and more, significantly more territories will be liberated from Kyiv regime under NATO occupation, basically, I will say. And therefore, a large number of militaries will be needed for policing operations, just to police liberated areas, to make sure that there are no Kyiv regime's sabotage groups are operating in these liberated territories. So yes, mobilization, theoretically speaking, may take place. As I said, right now, Russian president has a meeting with the leadership of Russian security services, and we will probably find out if they will be made any statements today on if anything. I will of course report about it on my Telegram and in next updates. Also, by the way, Also, what I notice and what is interesting in my opinion, that at least for now, and let me check in real time some of the media outlets here, and I don't see any statement from CSTO organization, Collective Security Treaty Organization, that Russia is part of, and number of former Soviet republics. I find it strange, I will say, because it is clear that Kyiv regime forces invade Russian territory, and I wonder why CSTO not yet reacted on this. Moscow did not ask CSTO for interference, obviously, but I believe CSTO should at least say something about it, or CSTO member states, but nothing. As you can see, I am checking in real time, nothing on main media outlets, I will say. Дальше. And dear friends, based on what I just said, I'm concluding that this is clearly beginning of the end of Kyiv regime forces as a more or less capable entity, because gloves should be off at this point. After Kursk invasion, I don't think there will be many voices in the Kremlin or in the leadership of Russian Federation that will call for restraint. I think gloves should be off now, and we should expect some really decisive actions from the Russian Federation. And I will address also these rumors that are circulating on internet, that Russian intelligence was not ready, Russian side missed this operation of the Kyiv regime. And I will say, first of all, I don't believe in that, and I already spoke about it. But if, for example, I'm mistaken, and Russian side was really not really unaware of what is to come, then I guess very serious decisions will be made in Moscow in that case, and we will find out soon that quite a number of officials will lose their jobs, and God knows what else. But yet again, in my personal opinion, it is almost completely impossible. It's hard to believe that Russian intelligence, military intelligence or foreign intelligence did not know about plans of Kyiv regime. I just don't buy it. So that's been said, by the way. That's been said. Let's go through some additional news. And a little earlier today, Russian President Vladimir Putin had a meeting with the government officials, and he gave an order to civilian institutions, to ministries, to provide all the necessary support to the people from Kursk region that are forced now to flee their homes due to this incursion of the Kyiv regime. And dear friends, the latest report was, and this information is not yet confirmed officially, but I saw on several Russian Telegram channels information that Kyiv regime troops entered Sudzha settlement. This is the Sudzha. Some channels suggesting that Sudzha is under control of Kyiv regime now, and some channels are reporting about presence of Kyiv regime troops in Sudzha. So if that's the case, then of course area of control of Kyiv regime in Kursk region is significantly bigger that it was known this morning, for example. So Russian president had a meeting with the Russian government, give all the necessary orders, and this is, by the way, a report on RT about casualties on part of Kyiv regime. And earlier today, Russian Defense Ministry reported that Kyiv regime lost 260 military personnel in last 24 hours, and also 50 some vehicles, armored vehicles, including 7 tanks. Air defense systems were destroyed in the Sumy region. But yet again, little bit confusing when we are reading these numbers, because during the conversation with Putin, head of Russia's general staff, as I already said, reported that Kyiv regime lost 315 military personnel, at least 100 of them KIA'd or killed in action. Also, by the way, TASS news agency is reporting that while Kyiv regime troops are conducting this incursion into Kursk region, simultaneously forceful or mandatory evacuation is being declared in 23 settlements in the Sumy region, which is controlled by Kyiv regime. So this is also interesting. Probably Kyiv regime already knows that they are finished, by the way. They are finished, and they know once Russian side will deal with these terrorists in the Kursk region, then Russian troops will further advance in the Sumy region, and at least 23 settlements are now under order of mandatory evacuation. And dear friends, as I said, I expect some decisive actions from Moscow, and not just against this grouping of forces of Kyiv regime in the Kursk region, but also we might see first time since the beginning of special military operation, direct strikes. We might see first time direct strikes on decision-making centers of the Kyiv regime in Kyiv, in Lvov, in whatever areas these terrorists like Zelensky and the rest of their criminals are hiding. Let's see. Also, we have a statement of Defense Ministry according to which Russian troops stop further advances of this invading force in Kursk region, although yet again maybe something changed, because this information was published 1:30, middle of the day, and just about an hour ago several channels start reporting about presence of Kyiv regime's terrorists in Suja settlements. So maybe this earlier report of Russian Defense Ministry that they managed to, that Russian side stopped further advances of Kyiv regime is outdated. Now possibly something has changed on the line of contact. Also, RIA Novosti's report that Russian armed forces conducted precise strike on the point of concentration of Kyiv regime forces in the Sumy region, where about 400 military personnel of Kyiv regime was located. No detailed information how effective this strike was and about number of casualties, but probably this number is high. Also, by the way, TASS news agencies report that ambassador of Israel in Ukraine made a statement that Israel is not yet ready to transfer its Patriot air defense systems to Kyiv regime, understandably. So, because after all, Israel is preparing itself for possible retaliatory strike from Hezbollah and Iran. But earlier I reported, if you remember, a couple of weeks ago, I reported that there was negotiations between Washington and Israel to transfer number of Patriot air defense systems from Israel to Ukraine, due to decision of Israel to retire those air defense systems. But situation has changed since then, and now Israeli ambassador in Ukraine is saying that they cannot transfer those weapons for this moment. And also, by the way, when it comes to Ukraine, we have Kommersant newspapers report that Niger cut diplomatic ties with Ukraine in response to terrorist activity of Kyiv regime on African continent. Let's continue. Also, by the way, RT is reporting that Israel, according to Washington Post, Israel informed the US that it was responsible for the killing of Hamas political chief Ismail Haniyeh immediately after the attack took place. So all these statements from US that they don't know what happened, they don't know who is behind this attack, and all that stuff is fake news. So they knew, according to Washington Post, straight away, and most likely they knew even before that attack took place that Israel was planning to assassinate Hania in Tehran. RIA Novosti is reporting that US is concerned, Biden's administration is concerned, according to USA Today, that Iran may retaliate not just with a long-range missile on drone strikes, but with a mirror action by assassination, because Hania was assassinated in Tehran, and I mean, hard to tell if there will be any response of Iran at all at this point, because quite a time has passed since the assassination of Hania, and we are on daily basis receiving these reports that Iran may do this and that, and nothing has happened yet. I reported that most likely friendly nations to Iran will try to calm things down and de-escalate situation. Probably Moscow, Beijing, New Delhi, some other countries in this world probably were recommending Tehran to retaliate with restraint. Although we also receive information that on US demands to retaliate with restraint, Iran responded that they don't care, kind of. And retaliation will be harsh, nothing like previous retaliation when Israel struck consulate of Iran in Damascus. So really hard to tell what is going to happen when it comes to relationships between Iran and Israel. Anything is possible at this point. Also, Kommersant is reporting that US threatened Turkey with the sanctions due to unwillingness of Turkish companies to cut their business in Russia or with Russian partners. Usual behavior of Washington, White House, and U.S. state institutions are acting as bullies. This is nothing new. They are unable to conduct some true diplomatic work. They are always trying to intimidate and threaten. In some cases, this approach works, unfortunately, but in more and more cases, we are seeing that countries are just straight up ignoring U.S. demands, which is quite telling. Also, Interfax is reporting that about 4,500 trucks are now queuing on the border crossing between Russia and Georgia, which is a huge number, obviously, and this is due to some. I believe there's some issues on the Georgian side. Some renovation work is taking place on the road or something. There was some damage done recently because of the heavy rains and stuff, and therefore there is kind of difficult situation now on the border, because just imagine, for 4,500 trucks, 4,500 trucks are stuck on the borderline. This is from Russian side, and I guess another hundreds or possibly thousands of trucks are stuck from Georgian side, and simultaneously, of course, there is a huge movement of citizens on private cars between the countries, and also ordinary people are experiencing some difficulties. I saw some video about this situation, but I mean, let's hope soon situation will be resolved. RT is also reporting that pipeline gas supplies to EU jumped 40%. Surprise. So Russian gas supplies to the EU via the Turk Stream pipeline soared by over 40% in the first 7 months of this year compared to the same period in 2023. In July, for example, just in July, Russian state energy giant Gazprom delivered over 1.5 billion cubic meters of the gas to EU via Turk Stream, which is 29% more than the previous month. The newspaper wrote, citing data from European Gas Transmission Group and SOG. Year-on-year deliveries jumped by 9%, it's stated. Well, this is interesting, and I expect this number to become even higher, because reports are coming in that Kyiv regime forces established control in one of the gas stations, in one of the stations in Suji area in the Kursk region, which is playing crucial role to make sure that this pipeline, major gas pipeline through which Russia is exporting gas to Europe, is working properly, and I guess Kyiv regime troops will destroy that station now, if they already did not. So probably demand on Russian gas through Turk Stream will further increase, and also, by the way, Interfax is reporting about deficit of Russian budget, and from January to July, deficit was 0.7% of GDP, country's GDP, while plan in calculations when budget was voted for, in these calculations, overall year-on-year term deficit should be no more than 1.1%. So it seems like target deficit will not overcome target number 1.1%. In any case, I just reported a few days ago, isn't it, that in terms of debt, Russia is in top 3 countries with a minimal foreign debt or state debt compared to its GDP. So this number definitely is not an issue for a budget and our country's economy. And that's been said, dear friends, let's go through some additional news. I will check right now if any breaking news on different channels. Что здесь? So okay, I will share with you just some news that I reported on Telegram, and I guess that's it for this update. This is a video of drones that can be used as assault weapon, also means of delivery of weapons, ammunition, or whatever supply without risking. Interesting development. Of course, drones, air drones, aerial drones, ground drones, naval drones are becoming a bigger game changer on the battlefield. Also, I shared these videos, by the way, about Russian strikes on points of concentration of the Kyiv regime in Kursk region. Russian aviation, Russian long-range artillery is very active. Of course, missile forces. As you can see, by the way, there is nothing can survive in that area that was targeted by Russian troops. Also, by the way, Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó called the EU a Brussels lie factory for obstructing Orban's peace initiative in regards to Ukrainian crisis, for supporting their cessation of oil transit from Ukraine, and basically for supporting energo embargo that was imposed basically on Hungary and Slovakia, and for making ridiculous accusations against Budapest over its migration policies. Well, relationships between Budapest and Brussels definitely is becoming more and more hostile. And this is also interesting video, by the way. As you can see, if you notice, forward part of the plane landing gear is broken on this plane. This is Alaska Airlines plane that urgently changed its course due to this wobbly landing gear, nose gear. And this is Embraer E175, not a Boeing, by the way, not a Boeing. At this point, probably whenever we see video that planes are experiencing some issues, probably automatically we all think Boeing. That's the level of destruction in terms of reputation that Boeing has undergone. Also, I shared a report from Ribor about situation on the Kursk region for 1 p.m. I'm not gonna go through this news. I mean, you can read it on my Telegram. Also, report of Russian Defense Ministry on progress of special military operation. And there is, as I said in the morning's update, by the way, Russian troops are about to establish full control over the New York and are conducting pincer operation in Toretsk direction, where Kyiv regime's formations are in very, very difficult situation. I also shared, of course, today's update from Alex Christoforou, host of Duran show. Interesting update as always. Also, by the way, Ukrainian military intelligence has retracted its own statements about supporting militants in Mali. This was reported by Financial Times. Probably somebody from Langley, from CIA, or maybe even from Washington called these idiots, these terrorists in Kyiv, and demanded from them to never ever openly make statements about their terrorist activity and their support of terrorist groups worldwide. And now this main intelligence directorate is changing its tune, and they changed their posts, by the way, on social media about their involvement in terrorist attacks, terrorist activity in the African continent. Also, US officials fear that, I already said that US officials are feared that Iran may respond to the death of Ismail Haniyeh unconventionally, for example, with retaliatory assassinations. Yes, that was published on USA Today. And, well, then I posted a link to this live stream. I guess this is it. For now. Let me once again check main. Let me check main channels for any breaking news for this moment. Turkey, by the way, joined South Africa in against Israel. As we know, in South Africa initiated court hearings about Israeli actions in Gaza Strip in Palestine, and Turkey officially joined South Africa. Also, by the way, let's check TASS news agency. I don't see any breaking news for this moment. Взгляд newspaper. Okay, this is it. No breaking news. Of course, if any additional information, by the way, on major topics, I will share on my Telegram and of course in next updates. This is it for now. Relatively short update, but I hope you find it informative, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary. This is the only way we can deal with the algorithm and to reach wider audience. And for very same reason, if you can, please share information about my channel with your friends in real life or on internet. And finally, if you like my work, if you want to support, you can do it with donation through PayPal or Boosty, or by subscribing to my Patreon page and also Boosty page. A few hours ago I published on my Patreon and Boosty video that I made yesterday in from Lavra. Let me show you, by the way. I mean, you can see it on my Patreon or Boosty. I made a video in Lavra in Sergiev Posad, by the way, huge monastery complex. Hopefully communities on Patreon and Boosty will find it interesting. So yes, I guess that's it for now. Have a great day, and take care.